Hello everyone and welcome to this video where we are in BeamNG and we're going to be taking a look at two army vehicles, a Hummer and a World War II Jeep Willis. We're going to be comparing them and seeing how they handle under different scenarios. Now of course these are not actual Hummers and Jeeps, they are beautiful mods that have been modeled by extremely talented programmers. And now we get to enjoy them here. So the link will be in the description for these mods. I highly recommend them. They are absolutely stunning, the both of them. Just look at the detail here. So what we find them under here is if we go to vehicles, you can see that the vehicle for the Hummer is the Gunner Patriot / Claymore. So here we have this one spawned, the two-door hardtop 6.5 liter, and if we go back to this, we see the Gavril GPV. If some of you remember the other video that I did with the flood escape, that is this same vehicle. However, for the flood escape we used, I believe, the resto mod. Now we are using the military style Jeep, the very basic one. And if we see that here, it says that it's a 3-speed with open differentials. There is a different one with limited slip and lower gearing, but we are just using the very original one. Now of course there is even a beautiful mod to a mod where someone else had made even more and detailed models based on the mod. This one is a lot of fun, and it even has a low and high transfer case and open diff. But like I said, we are taking a look at the bare bones one. As far as the Gunner Patriot, I really do want to purchase the full model of this. So let me know in the comments if you're interested in seeing a review and kind of trial runs with the full mod purchased. So with that said, let's take a look here at our vehicles. Now again, absolutely incredible models. Here we have just a little dinky motor. Of course, the original Jeep Willis was not a powerhouse, but what it did lack in engine power, it made up for in brute utility and functionality. And this here is absolutely no different. You can see just how beautiful this model is. And then over here now we have the Hummer, and of course this opens up as it does in real life. I'm not quite sure if we gotta go over to the other side and press it as well, or if I'm missing something. Oh, I think we gotta lower this. There we go. Now again, in here, beautiful model. Really does look the part, and I gotta love this snorkel here that we even see. Now if we go ahead and close this and even put this back up, you can see that the vehicle here is modeled just like a late 90s sort of Hummer, even down to all the details. So I'm super excited to test this out, or to test both these out and kind of see what kind of conclusions we can get with our test. So the first test we're going to be doing is the suspension run. In this case, we'll be starting off with the Jeep and taking it for a bit of a spin here. Now this one is substantially different than the other Jeep that I did the speed run in. Like I said, that was a resto mod, and that one was also intended to be much faster. This one is just your basic narrow-wheeled World War II Jeep. So what I do have here is the ability to go very slow motion as we pass some of these speed obstacles. So here you could see our suspension really working for it as it goes over these bumps. Now these are not very deep bumps, and we are getting a decent amount of speed. Here we have it, much bigger bumps. That front bumper is taking a bit of a beating. Now this is just the start here, so we'll see what kind of results we get with this Jeep. And of course I don't want to destroy it here on the first trial. but it seemed to come out pretty well through that. And as we make our way to the next trial here, we'll see. Now, of course, in addition to having the actual suspension tests, there is this open track area. Now, these are just small little bumps, so it should be able to handle this without much of a problem. And of course, it is a Jeep after all, so that wasn't too bad of a problem for this type of vehicle. Now over here, we do have much larger style. Now this is where a vehicle like this may become problematic with such small wheels. I'm gonna try to get over there. Maybe we need a little more speed here. I'm just gonna try to fly over that jump. There we go. So that was a bit intense. I could see the wheel loosening up a little bit, but we're still able to go. Now this test is going to be quite rigorous, you'll see. So as we approach this very uneven piece of ground, the suspension is working for it, and then we're going to have these little bumps. Now there's a jump area here we got to get over, and some more bumps. And what I note is that as we do these tests, the vehicle will get more and more worn out. Now it's pulling to one side, and the steering wheel is shaking, but it still is handling quite well, all things considered. Now there is this next trial where we're going to be going down into this little pit and coming right back up. Now there's 3 of them, all different heights. Now this Jeep does not seem to have a snorkel, so hopefully it doesn't hydrolock as we go into this deeper water here. Nope, still good. Now what I really like about this Jeep is just how utilitarian it is. And rugged, just a small package that is quite rugged indeed. So we've gotten through most of the challenge by this point. Still in good shape. I do love how it handles, even in the Resto mod version, but even in this sort of configuration too. And now, this part is a test of sort of the body positioning. You can see how we're able to just ride right down the slopes. I had too much speed on that one. I'm going to try to do this one a little slower. Fantastic. And then get some good speed up this hill. We're going to have some stairs to tackle. Well, we made it up, and then back down. Some pipes, and then back up again. Now remember, we do have a low gear as well that we could put the Jeep in, but it seems to be handling this quite well, even at this gear. And then back down. There's one set of stairs and a jump. Now that jump always does destroy the vehicle. You can see that it kind of bent it up like a banana. But even still, we're kicking. I mean, the it's still able to hit pretty good speeds, all things told. So I wouldn't say it's beyond use. It of course is heavily damaged, especially that last fall. However, none of the wheels have popped. The suspension is pretty much in working order. So I'm quite happy to report that the Jeep Willis had handled it quite well. Now we're going to get over here to the Hummer and take it out for a spin as soon as I leave the Jeep here so we can compare it afterwards. Now switching to the Hummer, you can see that instead of being a manual, this is an automatic, and it has a 6.5 liter diesel engine, no turbo, so it is not very fast. But you know what? Even in real life, the Army Hummers were not very fast. Taking a look at the inside view here, you can see it is a beautiful model. Everything about this interior is polished. Once we get over these bumps, you can see it is definitely the Army spec Hummer. It is not the consumer style Hummer here. What we're looking at is fairly military spec. Now if we hop back out to the outside view, it just ate up all those obstacles, no problem whatsoever. And once you get a hang of how it drives, it ends up being quite fun to drive this thing. This is probably one of my favorites in the game now. And you can just see, even here, it is doing perfectly fine. Now we have a bit of a jump here. It just ate that up again. And I didn't slow down. I know I slowed down with the Jeep, so maybe that was a bit unfair for the Jeep. Here we just drove right over it. Now the next set of challenges here are really going to test the suspension, so I'm going to try it in slow motion. Because this is like a practical example of what the suspension handles like on a dirt road that is not really leveled at all. But even on these bumps, no problem. Now the jump, we'll see how it lands, this balancing here. Obviously the front is heavy and it's a truck rear. But the wheels are so large, they just took it no problem. On this next jump, very similar. So overall, a very good experience for this type of vehicle. And again, once you get the speed up, it is fine. Now we'll see how it handles this sort of these pits that are flooded. No problem, like you could really see how these large wheels and the center of gravity and the positioning of the wheels really works. Keep in mind that the wheels here in the front are almost right at the front of the vehicle. There's almost no bumpers, so you can climb extremely tall grades because of this. This lets you scale almost vertical walls. Probably small ones, maybe a couple of feet tall, but nonetheless, it has that ability because the way the front is configured. And man, is this a pleasure to drive. Just like the Jeep, in its own kind of peppy way, this one is just a beast. Like, you can tell the size in how it kind of handles. Now I'm going to slow down for this. And you can see again, because of the front, the bumper doesn't even touch the ground. So, really done well. Of course, I went too fast over that one. But if we slow down here, handles it no problem. Now we got to get some speed up here, otherwise it may not make it all the way up, or at least not in this gear. We could always put it in low. But yeah, there we go. We made it. But yeah, these wheels are so large and so good. I've honestly had the best off-roading experience with this vehicle. It's done trails that no other car in this game can do. No other stock vehicle, let's call it, other than like the crawlers and things like that. And now for the drop. We'll see how this works. That didn't work quite as well, but we're still up. And it did no permanent damage, to the point where, honestly, I don't see anything wrong with this truck, and it's even still got its alignment. I'm not even having, the wheel's not pulling to one side. It's handling absolutely perfectly even now. So you could definitely see where the years of improvement, let's say from a Jeep Willis to the Hummer H1 Army spec, really do play a large difference in kind of the vehicle technology and the available sort of application of this type of vehicle, and like for off-road purposes. So that was a great little test. Now I do want to redo this little area with the Jeep just to see if I didn't do it justice last time. We'll see how it tackles it now, because I kind of just flew over it with the Hummer, and I think if we keep the speed, it tackles that no problem as well. So you do have to have speed for that portion for it to work as intended, otherwise you're kind of crawling over top of those large gaps. The next test is the cliff jumping test. Now, where the previous test expected the vehicle to continue on and sort of be fully functional or more or less functional after, this test will definitely destroy the vehicle, but it is just to see exactly how much pain it can take before it falls apart. So we're going to start off with the Jeep, and what I didn't show was the interior last time. I just love how Spartan and utilitarian this is. I know from other video games, Battlefield Vietnam and stuff like that, I got a pretty good taste and feel for Jeeps, and this does not disappoint. So that is the interior, and now we're going to take it out and see how it does on this. Now the trick with this cliff test is really to, first of all, get over that part, and then just to keep going. Now right away it seems our tie rods have separated, and we have now very, very loose steering. Now this Jeep is very front heavy. It seems it is dropping right down and smoking the front engine area, whereas the Hummer seems to be quite better balanced. So even though we're still going here, the steering is very loose. Our wheels are now pointed in two different directions. And there's still more to go, but it's still kicking. And of course the back is so light, you can imagine that all the weight just goes right to the front. Okay, well, definitely can't get over it if I ride the middle there, so I'm gonna have to back up. Alright. Oh, that's not even fair. I'm gonna put it back. There we go. Now you can see the tie rods are totally wonky, and the wheel does not want to go where I tell it to. Now the nice thing about these Jeeps in real life were that they were quite easy to handle and maintain, so even if one got damaged just like this, quite possibly the mechanics were able to replace the parts in the field and kind of keep going. So obviously not frame damage, but most likely tie rods and other sort of suspension elements. Now we really have to get that speed up the hill, otherwise we are not going to make it too far. You can see that the whole body is looking like a banana, and even with the messed up tie rod, it's still holding decent alignment. This is going to be the end. Oh yeah. We're just going to keep on going without an axle now. Oh. Okay, okay. Still kicking. That's good. So the thing with this Jeep is it can take a lot of torture tests, or a lot of suffering. I mean, it's missing a wheel, and yet here we are still going. And as long as we land on the right side, it seems to want to just keep going. We're gonna see what happens now. Alright, alright. Quite impressive, I gotta say. Even with 3 wheels and very heavily damaged, it still wants to go. We just did a little wheelie there, and that was actually perfect. Alright, there we go. We're nearing the end, and surprisingly it's still going. This part will not be good. Wow, there you have it. So even looking like this, we still crossed the finish line. I consider this here the finish line, and we crossed the finish line, and the engine is still going. Critically low oil, but still going. I'm going to turn it off just because that's quite impressive. Now jumping over to the Hummer, we'll see exactly what this thing can do. So again, it's super slow, and that is not going to help us on this run. But what I found was it is decently balanced, and it should be able to land without too much pain. We're going to see if it is as rugged as the Jeep though. So quite impressive. Those big wheels and that suspension is really doing its part here. You can see it is still a little light on the rear, and you can see that we're getting some deformation of the frame, but it is still kicking quite well. Okay, this is the big one. Oh yeah, that front smoked the ground there. We're getting some severe body deformation, but it seems to want to go, so we're not going to stop it. Now this uphill part is quite important to get over the little ravine at the end, so let's see exactly how we do that. This is a pretty big drop, and if we watch the front, okay, well, we lost the tailgate. Other than the tailgate, it seems we're in pretty decent shape. To keep going, alright, alright. And this is quite a rigid frame, like I don't see too much frame damage here. Oh. That was fully my driving, but yet here we are. So even with that type of flip, we're still going. So we'll try to get back on the road here. There we go. Still looking quite okay, even after all that. And we're not too far from the end now. So as long as our transfer case and transmission holds, I think this thing's gonna cross the finish line in pretty good condition here. There we go. honestly, both of these did quite well. I have to say, I'm impressed. I mean, the Jeep did end up much worse for wear after this test, but even still, the fact that the engine works and the fact it crossed the end line is quite impressive. And then this thing looks like it can keep on rolling, and most likely it can. And yes, the body is all deformed, but even still, it just wants to go. So I'm honestly impressed and love doing tests like this, especially when the vehicles have some kind of comparative qualities just like they do here. I gotta say, I love both of these mods equally. They're both super fun to drive, super impressive when it comes to kind of taking a beating in this game, and I highly recommend it for all of you. So take a look at the links in the description for these mods. Hopefully you will enjoy them as much as I do. I know that I just find things like this super awesome, and huge thank you to these modelers and programmers for making mods just like this. So thank you for watching, stay tuned for more, and see you next time. Stay tuned for other videos as well, testing out how different cars tackle this challenge and what to expect with them, as well as other tests. This is just a lot of fun to do. Honestly, I love cars and I love this type of thing.